the reality is you can't form.
When we saw LeBron James getting furious at Austin Reeves in a game the Lakers were winning by 20 points, we thought his response was a bit excessive. However, new footage shows that there has been some tension between these two, and it's all because Reeves humiliated Bronny James. The Bronny problem. To understand why LeBron James would snap at Austin Reeves during a blowout win, you need to understand the single most sensitive subject in that Lakers locker room, Bronny James. Because everything that happened on that court, the frustration, the body language, the visible anger, only makes sense when you realize what has been building underneath the surface all season long. And it all centers on how the people around LeBron treat his son. Bronny James entered the 2025-26 season, carrying the heaviest burden any second-year player in the NBA has ever been asked to shoulder. Through 29 games, he is averaging 2.2 points, 0.5 rebounds, and 1.2 assists in just 7.3 minutes per game. His field goal percentage has climbed to 40% from a brutal 31.3% as a rookie, and his three-point shooting has spiked to 40.7%. But the volume is so microscopic and the minutes so restricted that these numbers function more as statistical noise than proof of NBA viability. He has started exactly one game this season. He is, by virtually every traditional metric, one of the least productive players on any active NBA roster, and the entire basketball world reminds him of that fact every single day. ESPN draft analysts and multiple league executives have openly referred to his selection by the Lakers as a mistake, arguing that Bronny would not occupy a roster spot on any team in the league if his last name were not James. Former players like Kwame Brown have gone on extended public tirades claiming that high school players routinely outperform him in pickup settings. The word nepotism has become so permanently welded to Bronny's identity that it precedes him into every arena, every comment section, every media scrum. When JJ Redick gave a blunt post-game assessment in January 2025 saying Bronny didn't play well, it was treated as confirmation of what critics had been screaming since draft night. This kid does not belong here, and the only reason he is here is sitting at the other end of the bench. Now picture yourself as LeBron James. You are 41 years old. You are in the final stretch of the most decorated career in basketball history, and every single night you watch your son absorb a level of public hatred that would break most adult professionals, let alone a 21-year-old who suffered a cardiac arrest 2 years ago and is still rebuilding his body and his confidence. You watch the comment sections, you see the memes, you hear what the podcasters say when they think you are not listening, and through all of it, you have maintained one position publicly and privately. My son earned his spot. He is developing, and anyone who has a problem with it can take it up with me. This is the context that the casual fan never sees. Bronny's G League numbers tell a different story. Stretches of 15 to 20 points per game with the South Bay Lakers, solid assist numbers, improved shooting percentages that suggest genuine development when given real minutes and a real role. His three-point shooting this season in limited NBA action has actually climbed to 40.7%, a number that would be celebrated if it belonged to any other second-round pick in the league. But none of that matters in the court of public opinion. The narrative was set the moment the Lakers called his name on draft night, and no amount of G League production or improved efficiency will dislodge it. Bronny James is a nepotism hire until proven otherwise, and the burden of proof required to change that verdict grows heavier with every game he spends glued to the end of the bench. This is what LeBron carries into every practice, every film session, every team dinner, and every interaction with his teammates. The knowledge that his son is being eaten alive by public opinion, and that every person in that locker room, including Austin Reeves, is aware of it. The question is not whether LeBron is sensitive about Bronny. The question is whether that sensitivity has begun to affect the way he relates to the people around him. And the answer, based on what happened in February 2026, appears to be yes. So, when a viral claim surfaced on February 21st, 2026, alleging that Austin Reeves and Bronny had gotten into a physical altercation during a Lakers practice, that teammates had to separate them after Reeves disrespected Bronny during a workout, it did not matter that the claim originated from a satirical X account called Jake Morrison NBA. It did not matter that the account's bio literally contains the word satire. It did not matter that Yahoo Sports immediately debunked it and confirmed that no credible journalist, no Lakers insider, and no team official had corroborated a single detail. What mattered was that millions of people believed it instantly because the underlying tension it described felt real. The idea that someone on the Lakers roster might disrespect Bronny and that LeBron would react explosively to protect his son was not just plausible to the average NBA fan. It was expected, and that expectation did not come from nowhere. It came from a season's worth of accumulating moments, small, individually insignificant interactions that when stacked together painted a picture of a locker room walking walking on eggshells around the most powerful father-son dynamic in NBA history. Because here's what people outside that building may not fully appreciate. When LeBron James tells the media that his legacy is his children, he is not delivering a rehearsed soundbite. He means it with every fiber of his being.
My legacy is my kids. That's the most important. My kids, my community, my family. That's all that matters to me.
When a man who has dominated professional basketball for 23 years tells you that his children are his legacy, above championships, above records, above everything, you should take him at his word, and you should understand what that means for every single person who shares a locker room with his son.
The basketball, things of that nature, obviously has given me an unbelievable platform to be able to do the things that I love to do.
Basketball gave LeBron the platform, but his kids are the purpose. And Austin Reaves, whether he realized it or not, was about to step directly into the crosshairs of that purpose on national television. The night everything boiled over. February 12th, 2026, Lakers versus Mavericks, Crypto.com Arena, final score 124-104. Dallas had rested key players. The game was a blowout by the middle of the third quarter, and under normal circumstances, the starters would have been on the bench by the 8-minute mark of the fourth, resting their legs before the All-Star break. But LeBron James was not operating under normal circumstances. He was 2 rebounds away from his 123rd career triple-double, and completing it would make him, at 41 years old, the oldest player in NBA history to record that stat line in a winning game. So Coach JJ Redick kept the starters in, and that decision set the stage for what happened next. The cameras captured everything. LeBron lingering in the paint on defensive possessions, clearly positioning himself for uncontested boards. His body language screaming to everyone in the building, teammates, opponents, coaches, fans, that this rebound mattered more to him than anything else happening on that court. He was not defending, he was not contesting shots. He was camping under the rim, waiting for a missed shot to fall into his hands so he could check the box and secure his milestone.
Just standing in the paint, he wants the free rebound. Then on offense, he's rushing the possessions.
On the offensive end, LeBron was doing the opposite of what you would expect from a player in a comfortable lead. He was speeding up possessions, pushing the pace, trying to get through offensive sets as quickly as possible so he could sprint back to the defensive end and position himself for another board. And then it happened. A missed shot came off the rim. LeBron was in position. And Austin Reaves, hustling the way he always hustles, playing the way he has always played since the day he arrived in Los Angeles as an undrafted nobody who had to earn every minute he ever got, snatched the rebound out of LeBron's reach. Not once, twice, back-to-back possessions. And LeBron's reaction was volcanic. A timeout was called specifically to address the situation. Teammates on the bench were pointing at the scoreboard, directing Reeves' attention to LeBron's stat line. The coaching staff intervened, and across the court, the Dallas Mavericks bench was watching every second of this spectacle unfold in real time. The Mavericks were not just watching, they were openly mocking what they were seeing, and the loudest voice on that bench belonged to a 4-time NBA champion.
Klay Thompson flat out says, "They gotta get Bron one more rebound, man," before laughing hysterically at how ridiculous this is.
Klay Thompson, who won championships alongside Steph Curry, who knows exactly what winning basketball looks like at the highest level, was sitting on the opposing bench, laughing at the absurdity of a 41-year-old keeping starters in a 20-point blowout to chase a triple-double. But the most devastating image of the entire night was not Klay's laughter. It was what was happening on the Lakers' own bench. Bronny James, LeBron's son, was caught on camera visibly trying not to laugh, his lips pressed together, his eyes darting between the court and his teammates, doing everything in his power to suppress a grin while his father lobbied for a rebound in a decided game. For the millions of people who would watch this clip by morning, the optics were brutal. LeBron's son was laughing at him, the opposing team was laughing at him, and the only person in the building who did not seem to find it funny was LeBron himself. Now here is where the Bronny factor becomes critical, because this was not just about a rebound. This was about LeBron watching his son, the kid the entire internet calls a nepotism hire, the kid who averages 2.2 points per game, the kid who hears "you don't belong here" from strangers every single night, sitting on that bench, watching Austin Reaves take something away from his father. And whether LeBron's anger was about the stat line or about something deeper, something connected to the way Reeves' hustle inadvertently made him look foolish in front of his own son, is a question that only LeBron can answer. But the footage speaks for itself. The commentary that went viral the next morning framed the moment as part of a broader pattern of stat obsession that had defined LeBron's entire season. The 10-point scoring streak, one of the longest in NBA history, had consumed LeBron's focus earlier in the season, and its end had generated an emotional response that critics found revealing. The argument being made was simple and direct. LeBron James, at 41, is no longer playing for championships. He is playing for milestones. And anyone who gets in the way of those milestones, even his own teammate, even someone he supposedly considers a close friend, will face the full force of his frustration.
LeBron is just as big as a stat-obsessed person as are his fans. This is how they make their entire argument. Stats.
And the ultimate conclusion of the critics was that none of it, not the triple-doubles, not the scoring streaks, not the age records, will ever move the needle on the debate that LeBron cares most about winning. LeBron eventually got the rebound. He completed the triple-double, finishing with 28 points, 12 assists, and 10 rebounds, and received a standing ovation when Redick finally pulled him. The milestone was achieved, but the damage to the optics was already done, and what Reeves said afterward only added another layer to the story. The entire locker room turned on him. Every teammate made sure Reeves understood what he had almost cost LeBron, and then Reeves revealed a detail that tells you everything about the power dynamics inside that locker room. It was not LeBron who confronted him, it was everyone else. LeBron did not have to say a word. Think about what that sentence means. In a locker room where LeBron James is present, the entire team self-organizes to protect his interests, his stats, his milestones, his legacy, without him even having to ask. That is the environment Bronny James is developing in. That is the ecosystem Austin Reeves navigates every single day. And that is the context you need to understand everything that happened next. The other side of the story. Now, if you have watched this far, you might be thinking that the Lakers locker room is a pressure cooker of ego, stat chasing, and walking on eggshells deference to LeBron James. And based on what the clips show and what the commentary suggests, that would be a reasonable conclusion. But there is another side to this story, a side that the outrage clips, the YouTube breakdowns, and the fabricated practice fight narratives have zero incentive to show you. Because the truth is that the relationship between LeBron James and Austin Reeves is not what the algorithm wants you to think it is, not even close. When Austin Reeves arrived in Los Angeles in 2021 as an undrafted free agent on a two-way contract, he was a 23-year-old kid from Newark, Arkansas, walking into a locker room that included LeBron James, Anthony Davis, Russell Westbrook, Carmelo Anthony, and Dwight Howard. He was, by his own admission, terrified. But during his very first practice, Reeves drove past Rajon Rondo on a fast break and threw a no-look pass to LeBron for a dunk that brought the entire gym to its feet. Reeves later said that single play lifted the weight of the world off my shoulders. That was the moment LeBron decided this undrafted kid could be trusted, and from that day forward, their bond only grew stronger. By the 2023 playoffs against Memphis, the LeBron-Reeves-Davis trio was outscoring opponents by plus 14.3 points per 100 possessions, one of the most dominant three-man combinations in the entire league. Reeves evolved from a hustle player into a starting guard, a legitimate shot creator, and one of LeBron's most trusted playmaking partners. He has publicly called LeBron a great teammate, great person, good friend, who never once made him feel like a roster afterthought despite arriving on a two-way deal. And his relationship with Bronny, equally positive. In November 2025, Reeves became the first player since 2000 to throw alley-oops to both a father and son in NBA games, lobbing to LeBron for a dunk in one contest and feeding Bronny for a slam against the Miami Heat in another. That is not the behavior of a teammate who harbors resentment toward a player he thinks doesn't belong. That is someone actively trying to help the kid succeed. When LeBron was sent to the G League's South Bay Lakers for a rehab stint and Bronny got the start in his absence, Reeves embraced the moment with genuine enthusiasm, calling it awesome and fun that Bronny was starting while LeBron was assigned to the developmental league. There was no sarcasm, no edge, no subtle dig at the absurdity of an undrafted rookie's son getting a starting nod while averaging 2 points per game. Just a teammate who found the whole father-son NBA experiment genuinely entertaining and worth celebrating. He even suggested that LeBron should play a G League game himself, a comment that was received as the lighthearted joke it was intended to be, not the passive-aggressive jab that the internet would have preferred it to be. And LeBron's own words about his son, delivered during the same road trip that produced the Mavericks game controversy, reveal a man whose priorities are far more nuanced than the stat-chasing caricature that critics have constructed.
You know, when Bronny comes in, you hear the chants and everything, do you allow yourself kind of to just switch into dad mode for a little bit and enjoy it?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
He switches into dad mode in front of 20,000 people in the middle of an NBA game. LeBron James watches his son check in and allows himself to feel what any father would feel: pride, joy, and the overwhelming overwhelming desire to see his kid succeed in a world that has been telling him since draft night that he does not belong. That is not the language of a man consumed by stat lines and individual milestones. That is a father describing what it feels like to share a professional basketball court with his son while his wife watches from courtside. And it is the part of the LeBron James story that the algorithm will never amplify because it does not generate outrage, it does not fuel debate, and it does not make anyone click a thumbnail with red arrows and shocked faces. In his post-game interview after the Mavericks game, the same game that generated all the outrage, Reeves was asked about LeBron's historic achievement, and his answer was not the response of a man who resents his teammate or feels tension with the franchise's patriarch.
I think LeBron just was being himself, controlling the game, doing what he does, and everybody kind of followed suit after that.
He credited LeBron for the entire team's performance, unprompted. Without being pushed to say something positive, he simply offered it because that is how he genuinely sees the dynamic. And when pressed further on what makes LeBron different at 41, Reeves offered something that sounded less like a press conference answer and more like one friend talking about another. But the most revealing moment came when Reeves was asked about LeBron's energy and daily attitude, and he told a story that has never made it into a single outrage clip or drama thumbnail. A random bench conversation in Minnesota, the kind of small, unremarkable moment that never makes headlines, but reveals more about a relationship than any viral clip ever could.
I was just like, if there's anybody in the basketball world that has the right to, wake up, some days on the wrong side of the bed, he could probably get away with it.
Reeves was making a point that cuts against every narrative. The content machine has constructed around LeBron this season, the man who supposedly only cares about stats, who supposedly creates a toxic environment around his son, who supposedly attacks teammates who get in his way. That man, according to the person who shares a locker room with him every single day, never shows up with a bad attitude.
But he never does. He's always got a smile on his face. He, approaches the game in the best way possible. He takes care of his body.
And when LeBron's own agent, Rich Paul, publicly floated trading Reeves in January 2026, LeBron immediately and forcefully distanced himself from those comments, telling reporters, "AR knows how I feel about him," and emphasizing that the two of them talk every single day. That is not a man who attacked his teammate over a rebound. That is a man who considers Reeves one of the most important people in his professional life. And when asked directly about what his team's connectivity looks like, Reeves offered an answer that quietly dismantles every tension narrative that has been constructed around this Lakers roster.
Yeah, I think it's just the connectivity. Everybody cares for one another. Everybody wants to see the other person succeed. And
everybody wants to see the other person succeed. That includes Bronny. That includes LeBron. That includes Austin Reeves. The practice fight was fake. The on-court frustration was real, but lasted 90 seconds and ended with an apology and a standing ovation. The tension between LeBron and Reeves over Bronny, the narrative this entire story was built around, does not exist in any verifiable, documented form. What does exist is a 41-year-old father trying to play basketball alongside his son, a teammate who has supported both of them since day one, and an internet that will always choose the version of the story that generates the most clicks over the version that happens to be true. Whether that bothers you or not probably says more about you than it does about anyone in that Lakers locker room. And that is where this story lands. Not with an attack, not with a fight, not with the locker room explosion that every thumbnail and headline promised you when you clicked on this video. The reality is quieter than that. It is messier than that. And it is far more human than the internet will ever have the patience to sit with. LeBron James is a 41-year-old man trying to do something no one in the history of professional basketball has ever attempted. Play alongside his own son at the highest level of competition while the entire world watches, judges, and decides in real time whether either of them deserves to be there. Austin Reeves is a 27-year-old who went undrafted, earned every minute he has ever played, and now finds himself navigating a locker room where the most powerful player in the sport also happens to be the father of the youngest player on the roster. And Bronny James is a 21-year-old kid who hears the word nepotism more often than he hears his own first name, who went into cardiac arrest 2 years ago and came back to play professional basketball, and who has to figure out how to become an NBA player while the entire world tells him he has no right to try. None of these people are villains. None of them attacked each other. The practice fight was invented by a joke account. The rebound moment lasted 90 seconds and ended with a laugh. And the tension between LeBron and Reeves over Bronny, the entire premise of everything you just watched, exists only in the space between what actually happened and what the algorithm needed you to believe. believe happened in order to keep you watching. Now you know the difference. What you do with that is up to you. Thanks for watching. Check out other cards on the screen.